Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brian and I are doing a discussion for Sky Team. Prepare for landing. So this game it's probably like the buzz of the year. It was definitely the buzz of Gen Con. Because, it's a good question. I don't know. I don't know why this was so hyped up, because I remember going to Gen Con this year and seeing the line for it. And every time I was going to Scorpion Mass booth, they're like, yeah, line for Sky Team is that way. I'm like, I'm not here for that. What is this game? And it was like a 2-player cooperative playing game. I'm like, cool.
I think that's probably why it was hot, because it's fairly cheap.
Yeah.
2-player co-op. You don't see too many, and a unique
specifically
theme. Unique theme. There is no other games about landing a plane. To my
No,
knowledge.
you're right.
I mean,
You're
that
right.
could be a
There's
lot of
games
it.
about planes, but
Right,
yeah, you're right.
right.
Specifically about, coordinating landing a plane. But I remember seeing it, kind of demoed, and I was like, yeah, I'm not interested. And then kept hearing the hype around it, and eventually finally went to my local game store and saw it, and I was like, oh shit, okay, yeah, I'll buy it. I mean, worst case scenario, it's bad. And I didn't really lose any money. It wasn't Kickstarter, which is another thing. And so we've given it multiple shots, and I think this game is great.
Yeah,
I actually really like it. For the very same reason you just mentioned. It's cooperative, and it's specifically 2 players. But it works. It's dice placement, which I also knew nothing about. And it's also limited communication. Very limited communication. Which I'm not really sure about on the theme. Like, we were making the joke that we can't hear each other because of our headsets or something. But I'm like, I think we're communicating like, hey, you're kind of listing lazily to the left. I mean, we should probably even this out. Why aren't we communicating about it? But I understand that they wanted to make it game mechanics. But very rarely do non-communicative games actually work for me. I usually find, Fog of War stuff and, Blue Haven and shit, I just think that's so annoying. But here, it works. It works really well. So, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Sky Team?
Well, I went into it not expecting much, because the theme didn't really catch me initially, so that's why I never really gave it much of a second look.
Yeah.
And what I was saying before we started recording is I'll probably still never own this game, even though it's as good as it is, because, well, my wife would be my 2, and she doesn't like cooperative games.
Right.
But, I like dice placement, and it was done in an easy enough way. Like, this is this version of it, without some of those scenarios, I'm sure get really hairy with the wind and the ice and all that stuff, but the initial things that we were running through, it's very, very easy to understand.
Yes.
The barrier of entry on this deal right here was super, super simple.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of places to put dice. It's not overbloated. And and it even makes it easier, because I only have to know half of them. So when you're teaching, it's like, okay, the orange side's me, blue side's you. I don't even have to worry about your side. You're taking care of your own stuff. I'm worried about my stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because one thing that's really cool about this game is, and it mentions it on the back of the rule book as well as strategic advice, communication. There are 2 ways to communicate: verbally before rolling dice, okay, here's what we need to do, but also by placing your dice. And I think that that's very fascinating when you place a die. If I place, if I go and grab coffee first, or if I go after a radio first, or place a 3 there, that gives a lot of information to the other player of okay, did he place that there because he has nothing better to do? Is he hoping that I have an equal number? Because every time we were trying to, level out, keep the plane level, I would always try and save those spots for a 3 and a 4, because those are your dice you're most likely going to roll.
Yes.
And it's in the middle, so the only way we would crash is if you placed a 6 when I place a 3, but it's chances are you might not.
Yeah, that's why I like placing the mandatory spots. I generally liked whoever was leading off. It was nice to get those out early.
Yeah.
That way you'd have time to adjust and get coffee if you had to, because
Yeah.
those were mandatory. The other stuff you didn't have to do.
Yes.
So there's just a lot of choices.
Right. And
so-
yeah, and at first when you only have like 1 or 2 reroll tokens per game, you're like, that's it. But then that's what makes the game difficult. If you always had agency over the dice, then it'd be like, oh yeah, we're always going to have the results we need. But you're right. It's like, do we use the radio a lot more to try and just get those out of the way? But then that leaves me with whatever my results are. Like, there was a couple times where, like, you would use a 1 down on the coffee spot, and I'm like, damn it, I have a 1. And we could have used it to level out the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's really cool about this game is the way they also packaged it. So, the box, whenever you open it up, has, like, a trench that has, like, the intro, like, learning game stuff in it. And then that has this flight manual or this flight log that's like, do not open until you have successfully landed in Montreal. So once you kind of have figured out the game and you successfully beat the intro, then it's like, all right, here's a bunch of other stuff. Like a ton of stuff in this box. That's another good thing is like, for the price point of this game, you get a bunch of stuff that are based around scenarios. And in the base game, there's 21 of them.
It vaguely, it's not theme wise or anything, but the amount of stuff you get in a box of this size reminds me a lot of that solo game. That has a little campaign in it. There's like the space. I can't think of it. The one I let you borrow. that you liked has a little
Under
campaign.
Falling Skies.
Yes,
Yes.
because it's a small box like that, but there's a ton of crap in
It's
that little
true.
box and everything, and it's relatively cheap.
Yeah,
You know.
it's fairly cheap, but just a small package. And maybe that's why a lot of people also went after this, because it was a small game. It's not bloated.
Yeah, small footprint. It doesn't take up much room either.
Yeah,
You
it's
could play
so
it.
tiny.
You could play it at a
You can play it
pub or
on a
something.
plane.
Yeah,
You can play it
yeah.
on the little shitty trays that they give you.
because they have dice. Everything's recessed too, so
Yes.
it holds everything in.
I'm not 100% certain on why the
It's to hold it up so you can slide it underneath. That's
Got
what it's
it.
for. I was
Got
thinking that too.
it. Okay.
And then I was like, after we figured out it went under the board, I was like, oh, that's just to hold it up so you slide underneath the board.
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense. I thought it was supposed to be like a
like a stand.
like a stand, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not getting it. Like, what is, like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, they give you tons of agency. Like, you get a couple reroll tokens. You get coffee markers, which is neat and thematic. That also can help you mitigate a little bit when placing. And some of these just sound brutal. Like, so they have 6. What do they call them? Because they're color coded. Routine landings. Then they have 7. Yeah, they have 7 exceptional conditions. They have 5 elite pilots only, and then they have 3 heroic landings. Successful put you in the history books. And they're all about going to just different locations, having kerosene and kerosene leaks and real-time effects and ice and wind, which is all just extra scenario conditions that are all just like in here that you do layovers. Like there's the wind, and then the little plane, so you also now have to manage wind.
Mm-hmm.
That's just so cool. Like, I'm honestly really more just blown away by how much content. And Scorpion Mass just kind of does that. Like, they've become a publishing company that I really kind of keep an eye out for. I'm looking up their their list of games. Scorpion Mask. Yeah, Decrypto is amazing. It's an awesome team versus team war game. And then the big one they had last year was Turing Machine, which is also just an insane design. So, yeah, they're kind of a publishing company. I mean, Zombie Kids Evolution, I don't know anything about, but at least the 3 games of theirs I've played, this, Turing Machine, and Decrypto, all unique designs and just really impressive content in the box. I mean, Turing Machine alone is like, the fact that this game even works is insane. You have any negatives on the game?
Nothing that's the game's fault.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be cool if they had some sort of a way you could play it solo.
Right.
But I mean, logistically, I don't know how they would do that.
I can't think of.
Because with it being strictly 2 players, I mean, that kind of limits a little bit.
Sure.
But, I mean, and that's being nitpicky. I mean, there's not, there's enough dice manipulation in it to understand, and the rolls are different enough.
Yeah.
Because the times we've played it, you were the pilot, I was the co-pilot each time. We could just as easily flip the board and run the other way.
Yeah.
And they both play differently as far as what you're trying to accomplish. So no, I mean, not really. It was a really easy teach too, so I can't really say anything. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's anything.
I mean, nothing for me. Like I talked about. Like, I think the lack of communication might turn people off.
The real time would turn me off.
I
don't
but
care for real time, but you don't
60-second timer. Yeah, you
know?
cannot place any dice after the timer is run out. Any dice that haven't been placed are simply ignored. If the access and engines haven't been filled, you've lost the game. Show your nerves of steel by completing in real time. Yeah. In turn, special abilities, which is cool. But that's also the other thing. It's like the special modules and the flight log these are just what come in the game. And then they mention, where is it? I thought it was in here.
Good one of the books.
Yeah, fly off to exciting new destinations and discover new scenarios. Did I open that up? And I'm pretty sure, because like Scorpion or Turing Machine also has like a website that has basically an unlimited number of scenarios to play, but they have print and play scenarios and ready to play scenarios that I think are just like fan created scenarios, and then extra stuff that you can just print out. Oh, you want to go to Dusseldorf? We'll print these out, and now that's going to give you different destinations and plane altitudes.
Right.
That's just neat. I think more games need to be able to do stuff like that to be able to keep games alive after you've done everything. But there's a ton in this tiny box. So, 2-player only, co-op. Not enough of those out there, I think, that are specifically 2 players. And I can also see why people are digging it. I think they knocked another one out of the park. Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving Sky Team?
Even though it's a game that I probably won't buy, like I said earlier, the quality of the game and everything and the ease of play, I would probably give it an 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really was. It fits my. I love this play style.
Right.
It just that won't work with my deal.
Sure.
So I'm going to give it the points.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, I completely agree. This actually fits a little bit more for my playstyle. This is one that I could play with Kat and and it'd be like, oh yeah, this is amazing.
If I find it cheap someplace, I could always have it in my collection.
Yeah.
Just, for
Sure. I think they missed. You mentioned it earlier. I do think they missed the mark on a scenario. There's no snakes.
Yep.
There's no snakes on the plane.
Yep.
So it's gonna be a 4 for me. No, the movie's so good. How could they not talk about it? No, I'm gonna give it a 9.
Yeah.
I really like this. And I mean, little caveat: I haven't played every scenario, so I could honestly see, depending on how these scenarios go and how if all these modules land, and you can just pick like and if you're able to, if you don't have to like pick a specific scenario, but you can just shuffle the locations and shuffle that, and then just pick a module. If you can customize it yourself, I could see this probably hitting a 10 for me.
Yeah.
The simplicity of the actual turns of just being like, and then going, or okay, now what am I doing? And all you're doing is just placing 4 dice.
Yep.
It's so clean. I could honestly see it potentially getting a 10. It's really, really good. So that's our thoughts on Sky Team. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.